you can't just have someone sitting in the corner. Well, he's a good guy. That doesn't cut it, right? And so, yeah, money is part of it, but money has fallen down the priority list. Because if I'm being a good person, honoring the company, honoring the client, being a servant to um, the client or customer, it will return in the value of hopefully financial success, or if God blesses both the other way, praise God. But, if I'm doing, a servant attitude, it'll return, right? Like how I said earlier, I'm going to be doing this for 40 years. I had a customer last week where he said, "Hey, I need 30,000 square feet of industrial space." I said, "Oh, that's great. Let me come look at your space. Let me look at your process." And I walked in the space, and there's some unused space, some space that wasn't used wisely. You know all about this world. I don't, but I'm learning more and more from people like yourself. And through the time, I said, "Hey, I don't think building is the correct decision right now. I can provide a contact for warehouse space. I can provide a plant floor simulation engineer, or I can do an addition, but I don't think that's right for you." And he's like, "Oh man, the other guy wanted to build 40,000 square feet." And I said, "Oh, well, I may be wrong. I may be wrong." But he called me again, and he's like, "Thank you so much. Like, we swear to right away the process. We, changed the racking, did all these things. But I'm going to call you next time when I'm going to build. Yeah, I trust you." And that trust and that loyalty, if I have a servant attitude, it will come back around. Maybe good, maybe bad. I can't expect everything to be good, but the Lord has blessed me in that way. In the contacts that I've made. But it was a great example of, I'm gonna be here for 40 years. I'm gonna make sure that you're taken care of, because if I get a contract this year and then it wasn't the right thing, the next 39 years are toast.
Yeah. I'm not seen as a trusted advisor because I gave you bad advice.
Exactly. I see it too many times. Builder will put on that builder's hat and go, "I'm gonna build this building for you," and that's not always the right thing. Maybe it's a smaller building, maybe it is a bigger building. There's one contact that said, "I just need this much," and I said, "Well, you could do a couple things and lease this area out." And he's like, "I never thought of that." So there's always two sides of the coin, and the building got bigger. So, but doing the right thing by the client and doing what I would think I would want to do and giving my recommendation. Hopefully they take it, maybe they don't, and that's their decision.
I love that. And your approach into sales as well. And as you're thinking through, let's go way back. Let's go back to you're sweeping the floors for the carpenter. You're kind of showing up at 11 and doing what you're told. Putting a smile on your face, working hard, trying to learn. But you don't know what the future holds for you. You don't know, hey, I might be doing this the rest of my life, right? I might end up playing sports. I might end up playing soccer. Maybe that's what I'm going to be doing. Don't really know. If you could go back and tell yourself one thing, or a little piece of advice, or like something to think about at 11 years old, working for the carpenter, what would you say to yourself?
God's got an amazing story that he's going to reveal to you, and stop worrying about tomorrow. Today's all that matters, right? The only thing guaranteed is today. And I get a little anxious sometimes about, planning for the future, planning, as a sales guy, planning out your pipeline, stacking your deals and figuring that out. And, it's futile. God is truly in control. And if I really think that I'm in control, I'm in trouble, and I need to rely on Christ. So if I could go back to my younger self yeah, God's got a story for you. And hang on, because it's not going to be where you think. Every twist and turn in my life, you know, did I know where it was going? No. Like having a conversation, coaching soccer with someone that has a friend that's looking for a sales guy. Seeing going to see my sister at Calvin and seeing my future wife there. All these things are not produced by me, right? All these doors that opened, all these opportunities, all these failures, um, you know, are part of my story. So, um, just hang on. Like I think rely on Christ in the story that He's gonna unveil to you.
I love that. Thank you so much for sharing, and also the don't stress about the future. God has a plan for you, but show up today, right? And show up in those different scenarios and be present in what you're doing at that moment in that time.
Yeah, because even in your failures, you know, uh, so let's say I get you know a struggle in business, maybe get let go or something like that. How do I know that God is not going to use that story for his glory? And someone you might also get let go and don't know what to do. Well, just like my leadership group. Well, we got 20 people that have been let go of their job. This is what you need to do as a man, or as a woman, uh, in your career, in your job, in your family. These are the things that I did wrong. Here, this is how you can do it better than me. And that's where, those failures in life, are such opportunities. You hear it all the inventors of the world, their failures, if they got it perfect the first time, you never hear that. It's always all the years of preparation, all the mentors, all the books they've read, all these different things led into the culmination of the perfect product, service, or anything like that. Um, but it's through those failures that you learn so much. Through changing the brakes and seeing the smoke billow out when you pull up to the stop. And, I don't think that's right. No, it's not. No, it's not. And learning through those failures, doing the right thing, and going back and fixing it, is the benefit of that.
So love it. And thank you so much, Go, for being on and sharing your story and your journey. It's definitely, inspiring to those that are in sales and can take maybe a step back and just understand like, hey, these are things that I should be focusing on. Maybe I'm spending too much time focusing over here, but this is really what I should be focusing on. Also, those that are, maybe in high school or those that are trying to understand what their future looks like in that piece of advice that you gave, I know it's going to be very helpful. So thank you so much for that. Now, I'm going to get to the last question here real quickly. But I do again, if people want to, follow along with you or get connected with you, what's the best way to do that?
I'm active on LinkedIn. Send me a message, or um, my email's not very difficult to find. But yeah, LinkedIn's probably the easiest way. I'm not active on the other socials. I kind of disassociated with those.
Yeah.
But
LinkedIn's where it's at.
yeah, LinkedIn is such a great asset for people like myself. But also going back, I know we're wrapping up, but I feel like a lot of times in those high school conversations, I wish I would have known the the opportunities that were out there. You were taught you got police officers, you got builders, you got nursing, you got doctors, lawyers. You know, who would have thought that there's plant floor engineers that focus on maximizing their efficiency? Who would have thought that I didn't even know what an architect was in high school. Someone said, "Oh, my dad's an architect." I was like, "Oh, cool. Don't know what that means." Um, those high school people, I think I'm very passionate about, providing those opportunities or talking about those opportunities, showing someone, their kids in high school, like let them ask questions, let them get connected to someone that's in the field or a different field that they never heard of, because they might like it. I never thought that I'd be interested in commercial snow removal. I loved it, and I would have never known about it. Just assumed that the parking lots were clean.
Yeah.
But yeah, so sorry, that was a little.
I love you highlighting that, and it draws on some recent conversations I even had with a local university and some other schools, just about how they're attuned and aware of some of those things too. Is like, hey, our education system in the university specifically I'm thinking about is like, hey, we structure our programming this a specific way, and it puts people in this type of box almost. But there's so much more that they're doing. Like none of them, but the majority of them aren't even doing the thing that we put them in the box to do and train them specifically to do. So how do we help segment that out a little bit more and help them understand, hey, there's all of these different paths. Do you want to own your own business? Do you want to get into snow removal? Do you want to whatever? And helping them understand, and then being a little bit more flexible with how they're trained to get there. So
Yeah, giving those opportunities and showing them is so big, because if you didn't know, you just don't know. Commercial real estate was another thing. It's no one knows that until you're in the building world, or like someone's like, oh, your mother was a broker. No one knows. So providing those opportunities.
what we can glean from your story too is like, even though that wasn't taught to you or isn't taught to others in the education system, still you can go and ask.
Yep.
And then listen and hear what's being said, and then take action on it, right? That might mean you pick up a book. That might mean you go ask someone else. That might mean you go and search YouTube or ask AI or wherever it means. But you have resources. Just ask people and listen to what they have to say.
Exactly.
So let's get into the last
Sounds good.
I got a question here. Caleb. As you think through your story, as you think through how things have changed for you, what's important to you, what is your definition today of success?
My definition today in success is aligning those priorities and honoring God, honoring my wife. Getting those priorities in mind are truly true success. Because if any of those are out of line, it just falls apart, right? And so that's how I define true success: is getting God on the throne, and honoring Him, honoring my wife, honoring my kids, all the same, and then everything else in that category.